From heartbreak to empowerment, Coco. Gauff's triumph and Nadal stunning. Defense shattered the noise. The stadium was trembling, not from noise alone, but from emotion. Every clap, every chant, every heartbeat converged into one moment of redemption under the golden glare of floodlights. Coco Gauff, the young American who had once cried through heartbreaks, stood with her arms raised high. The score line was final. The crowd exploded. She had done it again. Not just a victory, but a statement to the world. Pain can break you, but it can also build you. And as the cameras panned, another figure watched from the stands. The legendary Rafael Nadal, his eyes gleaming with pride and a silent smile of knowing hours earlier he had delivered one of the most breathtaking defensive performances of his career. A masterclass at silence critics who had dared to call him finished. 2 generations, 2 warriors, 1 truth. Champions don't fade, they transform. The noise before the storm. For weeks, the headlines were merciless. Gauss, momentum fading. Has Nadal finally reached his limit? The tennis world loves its drama. Every slump becomes a prophecy. Every loss of eulogy. For Coco Gauff, the noise was deafening, despite her breakthrough Grand Slam title months. Earlier, critics were relentless. Her form had dipped slightly, and in the brutal world of elite sport, that was enough to question her resilience. She's distracted. She peaked too early. She's not built for long-term dominance. Coco heard it all. Every word stung, but she didn't respond online. She responded on court quietly, fiercely, with purpose. At just 21, she was learning that greatness isn't measured in moments of applause, but in how one rises after silence. Meanwhile, Rafael Nadal faced a different kind of noise. Whispers of finality. Injuries had robbed him months on tour. Analysts called him a shadow of his former self. Yet, as the world speculated, Nadal retreated into a sanctuary, training in Mallorca, rebuilding piece by piece, trusting his body, trusting his soul. And so, fate placed him in the same tournament. A symbolic crossroads between youth and legacy, between heartbreak and endurance. Coco's battle within. Coco's first few matches were all about reclaiming rhythm. Her movement was sharper, her backhand lethal, but it was her composure that turned heads. Gone was the anxious teenager. In her place stood a woman who knew who she was. In the 3rd round, she faced a rival who had previously beaten her twice, a hard-hitting Czech veteran with ice-cold precision. The first set slipped away, 4-6. The whispers returned, but Coco closed her eyes, steadied her, breathing, and smiled. That same calm, brave smile she learned from years of scrutiny. Stay present, she whispered to herself. Play your truth. What followed was electric. She stormed back, dictating rallies, sliding into impossible saves, painting corners like a master artist. When she finally sealed the win, 4-6, 6-2, 6-2, 3, she didn't scream. She simply looked at her box, raised a hand to her heart, and mouthed, "We're just getting started." The world began to believe again. But Coco, she never stopped. Nadal's wall of iron. While Coco was rewriting her narrative, Nadal was defying physics. At 39, most players would have surrendered to time. But Nadal, as ever, was different. In his quarterfinal match, he faced a younger, faster opponent, a top 10 star half his age. The crowd expected a farewell performance. Instead, they witnessed a storm. Rafa's defense was otherworldly. Balls that should have been winners came. Flying back, kissed by spin and defiance. He chased, stretched, and counter-punched with warrior precision. Every rally drew gasps. His opponent grew frustrated, muttering under his breath as Nadal retrieved yet another impossible shot. Then came the point, a 32-shot rally that ended with Nadal lunging wide, flicking a forehand passing shot around the net. Post. The crowd erupted. Even his opponent applauded. That moment said it. Oh, Rafa wasn't here to prove he still had it. He was here to remind the world that heart has no expiration date. Paths converge. The semifinals brought parallel storylines. Coco and Rafa both advancing, both carrying emotional weight. For Coco, it was a testamental strength. For Nadal, it was a test of mortality. In the players' lounge that evening, the two crossed paths. Rafa, towel over his shoulders, nodded with a familiar, humble smile. Good fight. Today, he said in his deep, calm tone. Coco grinned. Try and keep up with you, Rafa. He chuckled. You're doing better than that. They talked briefly about nerves, recovery. The crowd, small, talked outsiders, but to Coco it felt like prophecy. Here stood her childhood, idol, now her peer, reminding her indirectly that struggle was a companion of greatness, not its enemy. Coco's day of redemption, final day. The air was thick with expectation. Across the net stood a top-seeded rival, polished, ruthless, and fresh from back-to-back tournament wins. The odds were clear. Coco was the underdog, but as she walked the baseline, she carried something her opponent didn't. The pain of heartbreak turned into armor. The first set was brutal. Coco was broken early, her rhythm disrupted by deep baseline, aggression, reflections under the moonlight. That evening after the celebrations, Coco found herself outside the players' lounge, sitting on a bench, overlooking the practice courts. The moon hung low. The world was quiet. Again, her phone buzzed. A message from Rafa. Keep working. Don't believe the noise. You have something special. Don't let it change you. She smiled, her eyes glistening. Thank you, Rafa, she whispered to herself. She looked down at her hands, calloused, strong, tired. The same hands that had once trembled with fear now trembled with purpose. And in the distance, Nadal too sat in his room, wrapping his knees in ice, smiling faintly as he replayed the cheers. He knew the end would come someday, but not today, not yet. Two souls separated by age but united in heart, their journeys intertwined by the language only champions understand. The legacy of fire. Weeks later, the headlines had changed. Coco Gauff redemption arc inspires millions. Rafael Nadal proves time bows to passion. Young athletes wore golf signature bracelets and the Nadal shirts again. Social media overflow with quotes, artwork, tributes. It wasn't just about tennis anymore. It was about the human condition. The fight against doubt, against time, against noise. Coco had turned heartbreak into empowerment. Nadal had turned doubt into defiance. And together they reminded us that the essence of greatness isn't in trophies, it's in persistence. As one journalist wrote, when Coco Gauff lifted her arms in triumph and Nadal clenched his fist in victory, they weren't celebrating wins. They were celebrating survival and the power to keep believing. Epilogue. The sound of silence. The courts are empty now. The crowds are gone home. But if you stand quietly enough, you can still hear it. The echo of their moments. The ball striking the line. The gasp of the crowd. The final exhale of victory. Coco and Rafa, two souls who refused to Surrender to noise. Left behind. Something eternal. The sound of resilience. Because in the end, greatness isn't loud. It's the quiet. Strength to rise again and again. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to hit the subscribe button, like, and share. Till next